Hello, everyone. So, you wanted success stories? I have success stories for you. As a matter of fact, over a dozen of them. From clients, people in my workshop, and even one person who's never been a client per se, but who has been following me for quite some time. She has read all my blog post articles. She's been listening to all my podcasts and watching all my videos. So I am not going to make any comments. I am just going to read their story one by one, completely anonymously. So if you sent me your story and you forgot to tell me, please don't mention my name. I never, guys, mention any name. I don't even mention the gender of the person, as a matter of fact. So unless it's obvious by what they're saying, you wouldn't even know that either. So it's completely anonymous, never mention a name unless I am asked to mention the name specifically. Okay? So I will go ahead and read you all of those magnificent success stories one by one. And I want you to notice something, especially if you are manifesting a specific person. A specific person is not just a romantic specific person. Every person which you want them to play a role, any role in your play, is a specific person. So you will notice that many of those stories, while they don't include a romantic specific person, many of them include a very specific person indeed who actually has no free will, has no independent will whatsoever in the world of the person who manifested whatever it is that they wanted. And that person just played the role as they were told. So without further ado, let's get into it. Sylviane, you are the one person in my reality who really reacts as I want. Yesterday, I was thinking of you, and boom, you reached out to me to ask if I wanted to share my success stories, and here you are. I was actually complaining in my head, why doesn't Sylviane make success story videos? I want to hear of success stories. And today, voila, you sent me a message asking for my success stories, and I heard in your podcast that you announced that you were going to make a video about success stories. I have a friend from Argentina who's been living in Barcelona since the end of 2022. He didn't have a European passport, so he was living there without legal status while waiting to get the documents he needed. He kept messaging me asking me to come visit him in Barcelona. So I finally said, okay, maybe I'll come in August. But then in June, I started feeling like I didn't want to travel anymore. I was tired of airports and all the effort of flying there and back. About 3 weeks before the plane trip, I thought, forget it, I'm not going to Barcelona. Why should I make all the effort to go see him? He should come see me. Then I thought, if he's been waiting since 2022 for his papers, surely he must have them by now. What's going on? 2 days later, he sent me a message saying, you won't believe it, I finally got my papers and now I can travel all over Europe. I'm coming to Germany. I was so happy I hadn't booked the ticket. I joked that I'm a complainer manifester. I manifest things by complaining. I complain or make a demand and then it happens. I love it. I basically thought, forget that. He can come here, and then he got his papers and was able to travel. I'm not a professional musician, but writing music has always been close to my heart. Over a year ago, I made a conscious decision to bring one of my songs to life through a music video. I did not have a large budget. I only had the contact details of a student who might be able to help me. and I did not know him personally. Before we had even met, I imagined that he would use his creativity to write a script, direct and film the video, and help me bring the whole vision into physical reality. In my imagination, the finished music video already existed. I specifically wanted him to direct that particular video, and I assigned him that role inwardly. He later created the script, and I was able to find the dresses and other elements the story required. Even though some of them seemed difficult to find, each step appeared through inspired action. During the process, however, I discovered that he had left several other projects unfinished. There were delays, periods when he took no action, and moments when I became afraid that my own project might never be completed, after I had already invested money, time, and energy into it. He also borrowed money from me, which added another layer of uncertainty. The production involved several people, locations, filming days, and even drone footage. At times, the people involved seemed unreliable, and the circumstances appeared chaotic. I also realized that a project of this kind could theoretically have cost thousands of euros. Yet somehow everything required came together without that level of expense. Even when the outer circumstances looked discouraging, I kept returning to the end. I continued to see the finished music video existing in reality. I decided inwardly that he would complete the filming and then edit it, and I persisted in seeing the best in him and in the project. The process began in March 2025 and unfolded over many months. Looking back, the route to completion appears almost impossible. Yet, the music video was eventually finished, beautifully edited, and released in November 2025. I can now see that I assigned this person a role in my imagination, and despite the delay and confusion, he ultimately fulfilled that role. I assigned him the role and he played it. I may also have contributed to some of the difficult circumstances through my assumptions about people being unreliable. But what matters most to me is that I also created the complete result. This experience taught me that even when the bridge looks chaotic, delayed, or completely unpromising, the end can still come to fruition. The finished video became one of the most beautiful things I have ever consciously manifested. Hi Sylviane, just wanted to share 2 experiences that I can remember since living as I am. First one, for years I didn't have a good relationship with one of my immediate family members. She treated me really poorly. I felt it was impossible for her to change. Little did I know that it was all me, my own self-concept, and the story I created about her. Since living as I am, one day I finally made a decision that her and I have a very loving and respectful relationship. She treats me with kindness and respects my decisions. I fully accepted it and then just dropped it. No techniques, no visualization, nothing. Just internal conversation. I had completely forgotten what I had done, but over some time, not very long after though, I noticed her behavior has completely changed. I noticed she treats me with so much love and respect, and now when I ask her not to bring certain things up, she instantly agrees. Before, she would have had a verbal war. I absolutely love dogs. However, I've dealt with 2 very loud barking dogs in my neighborhood for the past 8 or 9 years. I know they are big dogs because their bark echoes through anything and everything. The problem was they would bark non-stop all day, every day. I couldn't find a moment of peace. I couldn't narrow it down to which house they were in, as it's a big neighborhood. I felt frustrated and had honestly given up. Since living as I am, one day, as I could hear them, I finally decided that I live in a very peaceful environment. I imagined myself briefly reading a book and the tranquility felt amazing. Dropped it right after. Over the next couple of weeks, still noticed them barking, but not as frequently. Instead of reacting, I kept reminding myself, once I have decided as I am, it's done. Be still and know that I am God. Just yesterday, I noticed it's been a while since I have heard the dogs. I had completely forgotten about them, and it's been a few weeks now. I am manifesting in steps, shifting out of working a regular 9 to 5. I know I don't have to do this in steps, but I'm doing it in steps because I'm still figuring out what I want. So basically, I kind of only know what I want one step at a time. One thing that I have been intending was working from home one day a week. I did a combination of declaring it and thinking about how it would feel. And then, this week, it happened. I literally was watching it unfold. It was kind of a surreal experience, out-of-body experience. And what you teach about taking inspired action is exactly what happened. In hindsight, I can see all of the steps that led up to that moment, but there was no way I could have predicted how it happened. Literally everything is perfect for the unfolding of your manifestation. There is no doubt about that. I am now working from home one day a week, and I'm working from home on my last working day, so it extends my days off, basically. LOL. Since I know who I truly am, success stories are normal to me. And I see that I am was always a success story. In the past, I successfully manifested painful stories. The most remarkable one was a year ago. I am an illustrator based in Germany, and my former agent was not working internationally. I was telling my best friend how I wished to work internationally. I never had a specific agent in mind, and I wanted to prepare a portfolio first to apply. And guess what? While I was on a train last August, I received an email from one of the 5 most successful agents worldwide asking me if I wanted to be represented by her. I first thought it was a joke because I never applied and wasn't even following her on Instagram, and she wasn't following me. I was truly shocked. Now she is my agent, and I have been working with her for major magazines including The Wall Street Journal, Forbes Japan, and The Guardian. A few months ago, my grandchild was in a life-threatening health situation. I asked you to help me, even though I knew I could do it alone. And you told me, very bluntly, in loving Abdullah style, no, he is not. He's totally healthy. And it worked. I thank Neville every day for the precious teachings that helped me and so many people. And first and foremost, I am grateful to you in my life. A wonderful woman, a dear friend, and one of the best and most authentic of Neville's mentors. I needed 500 Swiss francs to fix my bike, 500 euros or $600. 2 weeks later, a friend and I found 1,000 Swiss francs. We decided to split it in half, and I had my 500 Swiss francs. I scripted that I received 1,000 Swiss francs. I might have been alone when I found them, but we order and we get exactly what we ask for. When I manifested my current apartment, we had to leave the apartment we were living in. I loved that apartment, by the way. I had manifested it in the past as well. It was a chalet-style apartment with a fireplace and a terrace balcony. Nature around and affordable. I had scripted and drawn that apartment. I got one within a month, although people always say it's so difficult to get an apartment in that area. So, as I said, we had to leave this apartment because it had only been available to rent for 1 year. But I said 2 years, and we stayed for 2 years. The point came that we had to leave. So again, I scripted and drew the apartment. I imagined, and since I love the current apartment so much, I scripted that the new one should look the same. Every night I imagined walking through this new apartment, touched and saw. I even saw the realtor, shaking hands with him. One day I saw a little ad with the exact apartment we had been looking for. And lo and behold, it looked exactly like the previous one with a fireplace. And I couldn't believe it. The realtor looked exactly as I had seen him. He asked me when I could move in. We shook hands. This happened within a month, and I realized that the house was standing on a field I had stood in the year prior, thinking I would love to live here. There is so much nature around. I was amazed when I realized that's where the apartment was located. This is where I live now. We started feeding birds, and it got messy because so many started coming. The neighbors were upset, but I love the birds. So I imagined them not coming anymore and that they would find another food place. Overnight, no more birds came. Then I saw my neighbor had put out a birdhouse, so I imagined that not so many birds would come. And that's how it is now. One of my most surprising manifestation stories was receiving a Schengen visa at a time when getting an appointment seemed almost impossible. There were no available visa appointments, so I had no idea how it could possibly happen. I certainly never imagined the way it eventually unfolded. One day, while I was simply relaxing at home, a friend called me about an opportunity to participate in a scientific mobility program abroad. As part of the program, the embassy of the host country handled the entire visa process on my behalf. They arranged all the necessary steps and even covered the visa-related expenses. Through this completely unexpected opportunity, I received a multiple-entry Schengen visa that allowed me to travel freely within the Schengen area. The most incredible part was that I had not actively searched for an appointment or tried to force the process. The opportunity came to me almost as if the visa had fallen from the sky. My sister once lost her wallet, which contained all of her important documents, including a driver's license, national identity card, and other personal papers. After losing it, she kept saying, "It will come back to me. I will get my wallet back." She affirmed this for a while, but then she became busy with other things and gradually stopped thinking about it. She was not overly worried or desperate. Her attitude was more like, if I have to replace all the documents, I will. It's not the end of the world. Of course, she did not want to go through the inconvenience of repeating all the administrative procedures, but she had still accepted that possibility. In a way, she had completely let go of the outcome. Then one day, she received a Facebook message from an unfamiliar account asking whether she was Miss X. My sister barely used Facebook at the time, so it was surprising that the message reached her there. The woman explained that her husband had found the wallet, so she contacted my sister directly. What happened next day was even more unexpected. The woman turned out to be one of our former primary school teachers. She explained that her husband had found the wallet and that they had planned to take it to the police station the following day. However, when she looked at the name on the identity card, it seemed familiar to her. She suddenly remembered that my sister had been one of her students many years earlier. The teacher then shared an incredible coincidence. Just a few days before the wallet was found, she had passed by our former family house and thought, I used to teach those girls. I wonder what became of them. A few days later, her husband found my sister's wallet, giving her the perfect opportunity to contact her and find out how she was doing. It almost felt as though they had manifested each other. The teacher had recently thought about my sister and was given a reason to reconnect with her. At the same time, my sister had assumed that her wallet would return, and it did, through someone from her past whom she had not spoken to in years. In the end, my sister recovered her wallet and all her documents without having to replace anything. For a long time, my relationship history was not very positive. I had never experienced a truly healthy or fulfilling relationship. The only long-term relationship I had been in was with a narcissistic person, and it became extremely toxic. At some point, I decided that this was simply my old story, and I no longer wanted to identify with it. I started telling myself, this is the old version of my life. I now create kind, respectful, and genuine people. People naturally like me, value me, and treat me well. I am especially lucky in my romantic relationships. Men find me beautiful, attractive, and interesting, and they genuinely enjoy being around me. Instead of continuing to define myself through my past experiences, I chose to adopt a completely different belief about myself and my relationships. Soon afterward, I began noticing a significant change. People started treating me much better. They seemed more interested in talking to me, getting to know me, and spending time with me. I also began receiving much more romantic attention. Many men showed interest in me, complimented my appearance, and told me that they found me particularly beautiful and attractive. The biggest shift was not only in how other people behaved toward me, but also in how I saw myself. I stopped assuming that I was unlucky in relationships and started experiencing respect, kindness, attention, and genuine affection. Once I stopped repeating the old story, my experiences began to reflect the new one. I am permanently the creator and observer, understanding that everything in 3D is just a projection. Everything else comes easy from it. Very simple. I count my successes in my imagination because that's my true reality, and only reality. That's where everything is manifested, and there everything is given instantly, and I get to keep it forever in my imagination, which is the only reality. So guys, I hope you enjoyed those success stories. If you need some boost once in a while, well, just make sure you check mark this video and come back to it every time you need to remember that people don't have free will in your world and that nothing is independent from you and that you can create everything and anything that you want. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.